that this phenomenon of corruption is widespread across the whole world. So, if we observe some behavioral pattern, it's very important, and if we want to change it, it's very important, it's crucial to understand the nature of this behavior in order to promote behavioral changes. Because if this is a custom, this is one thing, and this is a descriptive norm, another thing. Social norm, a third thing. And different policy is needed to promote behavioral change. So this is the main message, the main point of this course. We need to understand the nature to be able to understand and to measure the nature of some behavioral pattern in order to change it. Okay? Because it's not enough just to observe it. We need to understand why, what are the reasons why people behave this way. So in this course, I will introduce a basic concept that we need to develop the theory, to understand the theory of Christina Bicchieri, such as conditional preferences, empirical norms of expectations, and pluralistic ignorance. And during the second lecture, after the break, for the break you have 1.5 hour break, and you have a homework, a group work for this break. You will need to work in a group of 3-4 people, so probably 4 groups. And you will need to prepare a small written report to send to me. You have my email on very first slide here. This is my mail, so you send. I will also send my lecture notes. And after the break, we'll have a second lecture. During the second lecture, I'll talk about the measurement of social norms. Okay? So today, the first lecture, definitions and diagnostics. We start with a brainstorming. Please organize yourself in groups of 3-4 people. And you have a 3-minute discussion. We have here 2 behavioral patterns, breastfeeding and child marriage. And I want you to discuss these 3 questions. Do you approve this behavior? Why yes, why not? Why do you think people are engaged in this behavior? What drives this behavior? And is it a social norm? So you have 5 minutes to discuss it.
Даже если не делать да, и там это социально. В России
там просто решают, если может иметь детей, и разводить уже детей, не, ну
да, и чтобы скинуть вот еще, чтобы, наверное,
Why? Why do you approve breastfeeding and do not approve childcare?
I think breastfeeding is like a necessity for a child because the child cannot not eat in any moment, so it's like a necessary thing for a child. But child marriage is a cultural norm, I think, in some countries and some cultures, and I think that for young women it's better, and young girls it's better to choose their way, their partner by themselves. So.
Okay, thank you.
I think some people can disprove this child marriage as social norm because only our European civilization and civilization after the second demographic transformation, yeah, and this is only our European civilization. That's all, but.
So you believe that European socialization doesn't approve child marriage, while the other part of the world does? Yes?
So I think that most of us, as me, approve the first type of behavior breastfeeding because it is a way mother and child become more intimate, they are closer, and it doesn't hurt any psychological behavior. But meanwhile, the child marriage, it is, I think that it is abnormal. It is abnormal type of behavior, as it can hurt child's mind, and it is. So I think that most psychologists will say that it is not a good decision for young people, as it can hurt them. They can't decide on their own, as they are too young, and so they don't have a choice. They have to follow their parents that decided them to go marriage with people who are significantly more adult.
Okay, thank you. So what
One
yes.
more problem with child marriage is it prolongs sometimes despite breastfeeding is just the moment, and child marriage can destroy the whole life.
Destroy the whole life. How it can destroy the whole life?
Because you marriage somehow you don't even know, and you like 5 years old, you don't know anything.
You don't know what?
Anything, nothing.
So
I mean.
So you lose. You want to say you lose the
didn't choose
opportunity for
somebody.
education.
For education, for normal marriage, for everything.
What do you call normal marriage?
I mean marriage when you choose a person.
Okay, so you lose opportunity for education, for free choice, freedom of choice.
Yes, you lose freedom of choice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
also child behavior is too sensitive, and so they can, they do not know some basic things about how partnership is constructed. They do not know some more intimate norms that is spread between partners.
Okay. Good. So you lose. What I heard. Thank you very much for your discussion. What I heard from this discussion. As for breastfeeding, you are talking all the time about necessity, about good for child, for the mother, relationship between the child, between the mother, and so on. While for child marriage, I mostly heard such terminology as problem, distraction, you lose opportunities for education, freedom of choice, and so on. So, and what about social norm? Do you think is it a social norm, breastfeeding and child marriage?
In our community?
In our, yes.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding, yes.
Breastfeeding, yes, and child marriage norm.
Yeah.
And what is the social norm? Let's write it down, and we'll come back to it later. What is the social norm for you? Give me a definition. Yes.
Можно я по-русски буду говорить?
Yes.
Здесь вот про интерес вскармливания мы подумали про интересный контекст. То есть один момент, который связан с тем, что вскармливать или скармливать, то есть естественно или искусственно ребенка. А второй момент это можно ли это делать демонстративно на, так скажем, и то есть или в специально определенных местах.
Здесь имелось в виду просто, да, вскармливать.
Вот. А потому что если в открытых местах, то тогда это уже вопрос социальной нормы. Можно ли вот так в открытую это делать?
Да, что вот вы сказали, вопрос социальной нормы. Что такое социальная норма?
В случае, если это в открытую делается не в закрытых местах, то это вопрос социальной нормы. То есть, насколько соблюдается, некие правила, скажем, раскрытие того же самого тела, демонстрации и так далее. А вот если это идет речь о, так скажем, просто естественном или искусственном вскармливании, то это естественно.
А что такое социальная норма? Можете дать определение?
Нет, я не готов так сходу, конечно. То есть некоторая традиция, правила, принятая в обществе.
Норма, которая принимается большей частью общества.
tradition rule approved by most of society. What else? Yes?
I think the context of grooming is close because even breastfeeding can be a social norm because women can hold a child in a different way, and the way of feeding is a social norm too, because like her mother taught her how to, and not even taught. She just saw this practice and non-reflexively hold her child this way. And I think the concept of approving is something that we need to reflect. We need to think about it. But social norm is an out-individual institute. And it's not about our thinking of it. It's just a fact, social fact.
Not about thinking, just a fact. What do you mean?
I mean that we can say that this is not social norm, but our behavior in the view of sociologists is there is no не может быть не социального поведения, то есть оно все социальное. Если даже мы не рефлексируем, что поведение является социальным, то оно на самом деле социальное. Ну вот такая история, потому что антропологические исследования, которые, собственно, даже показывают вскармливание грудью, там традиция вскармливания грудью, в какой позе стоит и находится мать, это все зависит от той культурной среды, в которой мы выросли. Вот такой.
Хорошо. Давайте еще какие-нибудь идеи. Есть, что такое социальная норма? У нас курс по социальным нормам, поэтому я хочу записать вот прямо на доске ваше понимание, то, как вы понимаете это сейчас, и как вы будете это понимать по окончании курса. То есть пока мы написали, что некая традиция, какое-то правило, которое одобряется большинством, потому что так сказала мама, так сказал кто-то еще.
Но не обязательно одобряется, чтобы так делать.
Не обязательно одобряется.
Но если так все делают, но никто не одобряет, то это тоже...
Вот это тоже интересно. Все так делают, но никто не одобряет.
Может еще и термин экономический институт использовать как вариант. Ну это в принципе к правилу почти что равно.
So yes, it is more obvious how institutions in institutional economics differ from social law because institute is a rule that that you should obey because of outer mechanism. Social law, there is no nobody will say you that no. It is not necessary that somebody will say you that you should follow this law, obey this law. And our institute have an opportunity to do it. The institute can make you to do it.
Okay, thank you. You want to add something?
Yeah, maybe it is important to say that it is something that lasts long, that it is passed from one generation to another and so on, and I think the main thing here that it must be approved by the majority of the society.
Approved by the majority of the society.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for this fruitful discussion. Let's keep it, and we come back to the definitions by the end of this week. So, time goes very fast. Well, so if we discuss these two situations, breastfeeding and child marriage, what I want to point out is that in both cases, in any behavioral pattern, people who engage in this behavior have factual beliefs about this behavior. So, as for breastfeeding, it might appear weird as well for me, but Bekerin in her book gives this example very often, that in many African societies, people believe that colostrum is the first milk of him is dirty, that child needs water, not only milk, that if a woman pregnant again, the milk is very bad, and so on and so forth. So that's what people believe, that breastfeeding is not ideal for a child. As for child marriage, so keep in mind this term, factual beliefs. People have some factual beliefs about some behavior. These beliefs might be right or wrong. We also can call this economic reason, these beliefs. As for child marriage, people believe that marriage protects girl, protects from some sexual relationship, that family can pay debt with marriage, that early marriage guarantees many births, and so on and so forth. So, very wrong? Yes?
I'm sorry, that's something about wrong beliefs. Okay, some beliefs can be wrong in light of scientific evidence, for instance, if we believe in science, of course, right? For instance, child milk is not actually poisonous to children. Science shows that. Some people disagree with that, but okay, we have a ground to say they are wrong and the belief is right. But some beliefs, that tends to be kind of moral. For instance, marriage protects girls. This is not a statement which can be proved false or true in light of scientific evidence. It's a social convention, maybe. What do we think by protection of girls? So
I think we could measure scientifically what girls' protection by measuring, for example, violence against girls who are married or not.
Well, but it depends on what do you mean, what do you call protection exactly, right? For instance, you may say that abuse by a family member is okay, but abuse by a stranger is not.
I see your point, yeah.
So how?
So you don't like the term factual beliefs? Or?
No, I want to.
Wrong belief.
How do we define wrong belief?
Yes, what I want to tell you, you have some beliefs about whatever, and you can be convinced that your belief, so I can explain you, I can give you additional information that you didn't have before, and you can understand that your belief is wrong because you didn't take into consideration some information that you just didn't know or just didn't think about it. Okay? This is some factual belief that you personally have. And there is another very important thing that is applied to any situation is social expectations. And this is very different. As for breastfeeding, young mothers may believe, and there is very, I anticipate things I have to say later about it, but there was an experiment in Bekerin. She did an experiment, a study, when she went to the field, collected some group of young mothers in, I forgot which African country, but when you read about it, you know it. And they managed to convince these young girls, young mothers, that there is nothing wrong with breastfeeding, so they changed their beliefs. And these young mothers understood that breastfeeding is very good for their kids. But they didn't change their behavior at all. Why? Because this is a social norm in their society, and because they changed factual beliefs, but they didn't change social expectations. Her mothers of law, this young girl, continued to think that breastfeeding is very bad. And of course, this young girl didn't want to go against her mothers of law and other women in their society who are older and who have influence on this. Okay? Because in any society there is some norm, and people norm that is formed in some way. We'll discuss it later how it's formed. We'll discuss pluralistic ignorance We'll discuss many important things, but there is some behavioral pattern that is considered to be a norm in the society, like you said it, approved by most of society. So if it doesn't approve, is not approved by most of society with breastfeeding, then it's very difficult for a person, for a member of the society to change his behavior, even if factual beliefs are changed. Okay. This is a very important point, the first important point that I want you to take. So we have different ways to approach collective behaviors, and as I said at the very beginning, we need, when we discuss some behavioral patterns, we need to understand the reasons why people are engaged in this behavior, if we want to make some behavioral change. So, in particular, we need to understand what are factual beliefs and what are social expectations applied to this or that behavior. If our goal is to change this behavior. Okay? And I gave you this very good behavior example. So they managed to change factual belief, but it didn't affect the behavior itself. So, now, this was a very short introduction part, and now, before we start to discuss the theory of social norm itself, I will very briefly present you the main concept that I used in her theory. Preferences, attitude, social expectation, I'm sure you know it. Reference network and pluralistic ignorance, have you ever heard about it? Reference network and pluralistic ignorance? No? Okay. So, very quickly, preferences. Preference, of course, you know it, is the disposition to act in a specific way in a specific situation. Very important here is not to confuse preferences with attitudes. I think you know it, just to recall it very quickly. So, having a preferences for something, it doesn't mean that you like this. It doesn't mean that what social psychologists call attitudes. So you have some disposition toward this, you like, you approve. Okay, it's different. It's not preferences. Preference and attitudes is different. So a family may prefer to marry her young daughter, not because they want this, not because they approve it or they like it, but they still prefer because they have social expectations. If they behave differently, they will be punished by the society. So this is important terms: conditional preferences and unconditional preferences. Unconditional preferences is when your choice, your decision, is not influenced by others, and conditional preferences is when your choice depends on what others, your reference network, think. And here the example that I just gave you about this breastfeeding story in African countries. So you convince people, you change their factual belief, but they have conditional preferences, and for this reason they didn't change their actual behavior. So.
But what the difference between unconditional preferences and attitude?
Unconditional preference is very close to attitudes. If your preference is unconditional and your decision is not affected by others, you still, okay, your attitude is what you like, what you approve, and your preference is what you do.
But if I don't see somebody's
yeah, but you still you don't do here. You don't always do what you approve. The good example is that cheating on your wife. If you ask people, do you approve this behavior? Many will say that they don't approve. But still, many behave this way, and it doesn't depend on what others do.
What is about drinking sugar water, like or eating junk food? Some people can love it, but maybe he would think that it is unhealthy, and he would like to not to eat.
Yes, for example. Yes.
It is so it is a conditional. It is a conditional preference, but it is not an attitude.
It's unconditional if you eat healthy food, but you don't like it. I would say this is your attitude. I think it's a little bit difficult to say what is your attitude in this situation, because if you don't, here in your example, if you don't like if you eat healthy food, is the question, do you care so much about your health, or this is imposed by people around you? So do you care what they say, or do you care only about your health for future 50 years in your future? This is the question. So in most cases, I think people are still influenced by their reference network. So you want to be healthy because you want to look good. I think.
Another question. As I understand, the definition of preferences that you introduced is more sociological. Is it the same like we economists think about the preferences, like something that is described by the tool, can be described by the tools function? It should have some assumptions like the direction of transition and other.
Yeah, I think that there is nothing contradictory between economic and sociological approach to preference.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the theory of preferences, of what you prefer. Just the main message that you need to take, what you prefer is not always what you like. And one of the reasons is conditionality on opinion of others, and there are other psychological reasons why you may prefer not what you like. This is the one. So attitude, we discuss it. What is attitude? As for social expectations, we also discuss it. So social expectations is what. Yeah, here it's a little bit difficult. What is social expectation? It your beliefs about other people's beliefs, about other people's behaviors and other people's beliefs. And here there is a difference that we need. This is very important to understand for behavior theory. Is the difference between empirical expectations and normative expectations. This is a really crucial point for her theory, for her definition of social norm. So empirical expectations is your beliefs about what other people do. For example, you may believe that other people consume healthy food in your reference network. or you may believe that they don't. And another thing is normative expectations, is your beliefs about what other people approve or disapprove. So, for example, you may believe that your empirical expectation that other people in your reference network do not consume healthy food, but they believe that this is good to consume it. Empirical and normative expectations. Okay? And yes.
Question. How do you treat things if beliefs are believed to be heterogeneous? For instance, I believe that some people do believe one way, some people another way.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong about it. That's what we are talking about, reference network. This is next.
Okay.
This is next important point. Usually, I will come back to this. So usually people don't worry much about what strangers expect from them and about what strangers believe. So usually for people what is important is, and what is determine their choices or their preferences is the reference network. Maybe family members or classmates, or if you live in a small village members, or just friends, and so on and so forth. So people who are important for you, not everybody. You may believe, of course you believe, everybody believes that people are different. That your expectations about behavior in you, as we discussed, in Europe, in some not European countries will be different. Your expectations are always different. But here we're talking about some particular scenario, some expectations about some particular behavioral pattern in some particular group, small group. Okay? And just let me come back to normative expectations. I just want to point out that personal normative beliefs is a very different thing from your normative expectations. Okay? Personal belief is what you believe is good to do. It's what you approve for you. And normative expectations is what you think other people approve. Yes?
Do we have an attitude? Don't you say, and can't you say that our attitude is formed by others' expectations of us?
This is, I will tell about it at the very end of the course, that this is an open to such questions, how our personal normative beliefs are formed.
Yeah.
There is no theory, and how personal normative beliefs and how normative expectations, how they are formed, this is an open question. We don't know it. And at the end of my lecture, I suggest you to draw on this question.
Okay.
So I don't know an answer to this question. This is very important, very, very interesting question. We just hear what I want to say you, that you don't have to confuse these two things. Your personal normative belief and normative expectations. Usually it's very different.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so how much time do you have? 40 minutes, right? Well, so we discussed reference network, and the last very interesting situation is so-called pluralistic ignorance. This is the term introduced by Vicari. This is the situation when one believes that his personal normative beliefs are different from normative expectations, from beliefs in your reference network. But this is not true. This is not the case. The example that you have on this slide is about child beating. In some, this is again the example of Christine Vicari. When parents beat their children, this is not because this is not their personal normative beliefs. They don't want to beat their kids. They don't believe that this is good to beat their kids, but they believe that in their society, in their reference network, majority approve this. That's what we have. Approved by most of the society, as you point out as well. But in the reality, everybody in the society, the majority, do not approve it. This is the cognitive state called by Victoria pluralistic ignorance. So people, you may fall in this situation because people don't openly talk about this. They don't want to appear that they believe differently from the majority. And so in our society when information is open, it may be that personal beliefs of everybody changed, but given that people don't talk openly about this, they continue to believe that most others believe differently, and they don't want to talk about it. Yes?
So, as I understand, the social norm is what? The pluralistic ignorance is a social norm that is not approved by society. Is it correct?
No, it's not correct. We don't, let's not, for the moment, let's not use the term social norm, because I will introduce it later. I will give a definition later. Pluralistic ignorance is just what I said now.
Okay.
Other questions? Do you have in mind your own examples of pluralistic ignorance? I will send you, email you the slides.
Political powerlessness. Political powerlessness. I believe something is going wrong, but I'm alone and I cannot change things on my own. Many people think the same way, but they don't want to.
Yes, this is a good example. Okay, so now how we make our choice. We have preferences that are formed in a quite difficult way because we have attitudes, what we like, what we dislike. We have our personal normative beliefs. Coming back to the discussion about difference between attitude and preferences, there are also your normative moral things, right? So you're doing this not because you like it, you probably dislike it, but you're still doing it because this is your normative, personal normative expectations. For example, you're not engaged in corruption, you like to do it, but you're not engaged not because you are worried about punishment or something, but just because you believe that this is immoral behavior, unethical behavior, that this is bad for others, and you want to care about others and you are not doing it. So still...
And this is attitude or preference?
No, attitude is... This is preference.
This is preference.
Because attitude in social psychology, attitude is defined as what you like, what you approve.
It's a kind of ethical thing, right? Close to value, but not as strong as value. Right? For instance, I believe something is wrong or something is right. Preference is actually a binary relation, which can apply to anything. Includes, in a sense, within value in a sense, but also including personal things such as I prefer apples to banana, right? There's nothing more than a preference. Right?
So your attitudes affect your preferences, but not only attitudes determine your preferences. There are many other factors that determine your preferences. Such as social expectation, factual beliefs, and so on and so forth. And this is the question. We need to understand why people So preferences are directly linked to choice, to behavior. And if we observe some behavior, we need to understand, this is the main question, the main message of this course. You need to understand why people behave this way. Because they have some personal normative moral preferences for this, or because they're influenced by social expectation, or both, and if both, how it is split. So what factor is stronger or not? Yes?
So can I ask you, can be different models, because in
can we
model it? So in economics, preferences are exogenous variable, and so as you show in this slide, preferences are not exogenous, they are endogenous. And so also
Yes.
I heard that maybe we can refer another factor that affects preference. I thought that psychologists say that also some context psychological affect preferences. So psychologists have another point of view on this question.
Psychologists have I didn't get your last one. The first, yes, of course we can model it, and that's what we'll discuss today. And your second...
I will show you after the workshop, so the article. So the psychologists say that also we can some context affect preferences.
Some context affect preferences?
So
yeah, but it doesn't contradict to what I'm saying. Yeah, there are many factors that affect preferences.
I think that it is not like a social context, it's another.
It's not. Yeah, it's not only social context. It is social context, your social expectation, also your moral expectations, your moral beliefs. Yeah, of course. If you can give an example. Now.
Maybe it's more talking about something like showing eyes near charity taking, and if you say you can play if you want to,
yes.
you will put a picture of somebody's eyes near, more people will pay, and it's not social changing.
Yes, but this is not. This is exactly the manipulation of your social expectation. This is how you change empirical expectations.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. As I said, if we observe some behavioral patterns, some collective practice, what people do, if they are corrupt, if they breastfeed their kids, if they marry their kids young age, we need to understand why they do this. And in particular, we need to understand whether their choices, their behavior, is affected by social expectations, by empirical expectations and normal expectations, or not. Or it is determined only by your personal attitudes and personal values, personal ethical values. Okay? We'll consider many examples and you will understand it better. The first example, we will discuss, today, the first lecture will discuss 3 different behavioral patterns, what are called by behavior called customs, when people have unconditional preferences, descriptive norms and social norms. So we'll understand today, during our first lecture, we will understand the difference between custom, descriptive norms and social norms. And why it is important, I repeat it the third time because this is very important, why it's important to understand the difference, because it's important to understand the nature of behavior if we want to change it. Policy changes will be different for custom if this behavioral pattern is custom or descriptive from a social norm. We need different policy measures to change it. That's why we need to understand the nature of the behavior. Our first example, using umbrellas. Why do you use umbrellas?
Protect us from the rain.
Protect ourselves, we don't want to get wet. Alexei, do you use umbrellas?
I prefer coats.
Same here.
Sometimes, yes.
So, a custom, it is, you may know that many people use umbrellas. So you may form your empirical expectations in a very good way. But you are not affected. So Alexei knows that many other people use umbrellas, but he doesn't care about it. He prefers to use coats. Okay? So the social custom is the behavioral pattern such that individuals prefer to conform to it only because this meets their needs, and not because others do it, even if they know that others do it.
Frankly speaking, I would say that in this case, not using umbrella is somehow like cool. I would say, like if people go through the rain without umbrella, it looks cool. I mean, maybe social attitude, social expectations move us to another point.
What do you mean it looks cool?
No, you look more sporty, you look stronger.
Yeah.
You're brave.
Yeah, but in any case, you look brave, so you want to say you don't use it? Yeah, but in any case, it meets your needs as well. So you want, this is your need to look brave in this particular day. And another day, when you go to an important interview, probably you have different needs. Not to look brave, but to look nice.
Right.
Okay? So, but the important, very important point is that your preferences are unconditional. Whatever other people do, you either use your umbrella or don't use because you want to look brave, but it doesn't depend on what others do. Okay?
But why not you say you use it, call it social custom? Why is it social?
Because we're talking about society, everything is social. Because in one society is one custom, we move 1,000 kilometers to the north, and it's another custom.
Okay. Social is declarable.
Yes. Just so how can we change custom? To change custom, we need to change factual beliefs. For example, we can, like you told me that if you don't use umbrella, you look brave, you look sporty. So you change my factual belief, and probably I will change my behavior, I will change my custom of using or not using umbrellas. Okay? So it's enough you give information to people, you present some alternatives, you better explain to a person that she might be wrong, that she might forget some important factors, and so on and so forth. You explain advantage of new behavior. Also, how customs can be changed if external conditions change. For example, if we're talking about eating habits, the introducing of a new product can also change your eating habits, eating customs. So previously you liked some product, but when new product was introduced to the market and you forgot about the old product and start to consume a new product. So everything related to marketing is about how to change customs. Now let's consider another situation. Why do you think people dress baby girls in pink and baby boys in blue?
They're used to it, just
Why?
because of some associations of colors in our heart.
Because
Because of some
associations of colors. Did you do it, Alexei?
Well, maybe. What about you, Nicole?
I didn't.
No,
No, because for February I got a lot of different of blue colors from my friends,
Okay.
and so I put everything in February, and it put me in big trouble.
Okay. So basically, people mix up the sexes change, right?
Yeah. So, and another example. Let's consider another example. Traffic light. Traffic light when you don't go on red and go on green, and boys in blue, girls in pink. What's the difference between these two situations? So this is how people behave usually. They don't go on red, they go on green. They use blue color for boys and pink for girls. What is the difference between these two situations? Tell me.
one can save our life and the second is ridiculous.
Okay, this is very good. So this is the question of unilateral and multilateral expectations. So in both situations, what's the difference between custom, as we considered the previous example of umbrellas, and these two examples? In both situations, clothes for kids and traffic lights, our behavior is determined by expectations. We do it because other people do it. Like, do as Romans do. We just do it because others do it. But here, this is the question of unilateral and multilateral expectations. So, it doesn't really meet our needs in terms of umbrellas, but the difference is that with coordination as traffic light, we expect, it's not only that we do it because others do it, but others also expect us to do it. And this is how we can avoid accident and save our lives. And this is how we need to save our lives, right? This is multilateral, this is called multilateral expectations. As for clothes for kids, colored clothes for kids, others do not expect us. Some expect, yeah, but they don't. In the situation of traffic lights, others really expect us to stop at red. They really need it because this is the coordination. This is how we can coordinate and save our lives. As for color of clothes, others others might expect it, but they don't really need it. Okay? So both examples of clothes for kids and traffic lights, these are examples of descriptive norms. In behavior theory, it is called descriptive norms. So we behave this way because we expect others to behave this way. So we will never imagine that you are alone on, not alone on the street, but just alone. I don't know, in your village. I don't know, some abstract situation. You will never stop at red if there are no others car, right? This is the coordination. You stop at red because others stop. Also, this is how you can cross, you can organize the traffic, right? But imitation is also descriptive norms, but this is different. You just imitate others, because this is how we behave. We don't know what to do, we just do what others do. Okay, descriptive norms. And now we turn to the most important. This is just again what I have just said. Descriptive norms is a pattern, behavioral pattern, when individuals conform to this pattern because not everybody, but people in the reference network. So we care only about our reference network usually. Because most people in our reference network conform to it. I have more examples of descriptive norms, like traffic lights, etiquette, dress code, language rules. It's all the question of multilateral expectations. So this is a table, not because this is a table, but because we call it a table, and this is how we understand each other. Okay? Now we turn to social norms. Sorry. Before to turn to social norms, I wanted to discuss how we can change descriptive norms. So change descriptive norms is different from changing customs. If we want to change descriptive norms, we need to change empirical expectations. Because descriptive norms are determined by empirical expectations. This is the whole story about disseminating the information that you want. I would say manipulation of information. So you want people to believe in something. You manipulate information, you disseminate information, and this is how you change empirical expectations. So you are doing whatever you want to change empirical expectations. Here just a summary. Just a summary about changing customs and changing descriptive norms. So just let me repeat it once more. So if we want to change a negative custom, if breastfeeding in some society that we discussed was a custom, it had been easy to change it. You just explain to people that they're wrong, that their factual beliefs are wrong. You convince them in it, and it's enough to change a custom. As for norms, descriptive norms, social norms, it's not enough. You also need to change empirical and anticipating social normative expectations. You see the point? So it's not enough to convince people that their factual beliefs are wrong to change a norm. But it's enough if it was a custom. And this is a custom, this is the easiest way to change it. You just explain to people that umbrella is not a modern thing anymore to protect against the rain, because there are very effective coats books, and this is much easier to use it. You don't need to have your huge umbrella over time of you. You just explain it to a person, and he changed the custom. If this is a norm, it's not enough, because with the norm you need to change expectations, because expectations play a crucial role to sustain this behavioral practice. This is the main point. Now, let's turn to to a discussion of social norm, and let's come back. To two situations with which we started our today's discussion. So, why people marry their young daughters? Is it just because they believe, you remember the factual beliefs that we considered, that this is good for family, that family can build some relation with other family, that it protects girls from some sexual relationship, that a girl can have many births, and so on and so forth. Is it only this the reason for young marriage, or they do it because everybody else is doing this? So this is the main question we need to understand if we want to promote behavioral change. We need to understand why people behave this way.
Maybe both.
This is very good, yeah. Maybe both, but if there are both factors, there are always some proportion. So what factors are stronger? We need to understand what is stronger. And if there is this, we need to understand what is in the society, what are the consequences for behaving differently. How is the punishment? Is the punishment strong or not? Okay. We need to understand what are normative expectations in the society about what are punishment, what are sanctions for not conforming to this behavior. Okay. So the example that I gave you at the very beginning, if we change factual belief, wrong factual belief about a dirty colostrum, if we change this belief, it will not how behavior shows in her study. So they changed factual beliefs, but it didn't affect behavior. Because the behavior was determined not only, of course you're right, always determined by both, but it was determined not only by factual belief, but mainly by expectations of others. And according to Bicchieri, a social norm is some behavioral pattern that such that individuals conform to it on conditions that they believe that there are empirical expectations and normative expectations. This is the difference with, you don't need to make a picture because I will send you slides just immediately after. So, I mean, you can, but there is no need for this. So, social norms is also called injunctive norms. It's what, it is the story about how we ought to act if you want, in moral terms. Okay, what is good, but the difference between social norms and personal norms, when you think for yourself what is the moral behavior, you evaluate it for you, for your, I don't know, future life, if you believe in God or something. But you estimate it, evaluate it inside you. As for social norm, this is how we ought to behave in terms of a society. What is good for a society, not only for you as a person, but for a society. You see the difference. And of course, this is very different from imitation and coordination. So the traffic rules descriptive norm, everybody behaves this way, and everybody has personal interest to behave this way, to coordinate on the street, because you need, this is your personal need, to save your life, right? This is what I have just said, that if we're talking about social norms, we have preferences that are conditional on social and empirical expectations and social normative expectations. And empirical expectations, as in coordination and imitation story, are not sufficient to motivate compliance with a social norm, because you have your personal interest to behave differently, like in the situation of corruption. Okay, the interest, there is the interest for everybody, for the whole society, for non-corrupt behavior, but not for you. For you, it's all this interest to cheat. This is the same story as in public good gaming. So let me repeat once more what are normative expectations. So the normative expectations, how they're formed, this is a different story. How they're different from personal normative beliefs, this is a different story, but everybody has some normative expectations and behaves according to these normative expectations if we are talking about social norm. Why? Because he knows that sanctions will be involved in case of non-compliance with this behavior, because the society expects them to behave this way. We know that most people in our society think that corruption is bad practice. And we know that if we are caught for corruption, we will be sanctioned for this. Because normative expectations are such that. So in fact, this is the question. We probably don't know it. I'm working on this story of corruption, and I'm trying to understand to which extent this is a custom, to which extent it's a social norm.
If I understand you correct, I suppose that it's not like this. Because if somebody is just afraid that he got caught and he got punished for corruption, it's more like an attitude, because he is afraid of something as a result of his preferences. And normative expectations is more like he understands that during the process, during the court, everybody will say that he's a bad person, he's corrupt, more like this.
I'm not sure that I got your point. So you want to say that that if you don't like to be punished, or you like to be punished, this is your attitude.
No. I want to say that the punishment is what deals with our attitude. We don't want to be punished. And so the punishment goes through our attitude.
Yes, I think I see your point. So if we don't want to be punished, this is our attitude. Yes. Probably there are some strange people who want to be punished for some reason.
Yes.
This is your attitude.
Yes. And normative expectations influence only through attitude of society to us.
No, normative expectations is that you expect for some behavior you will be punished. You don't like to be punished in general, this is your attitude.
Including formal punishments. I mean...
Yeah, of course, formal punishment both, yes. But you expect, your normative expectations, you expect that for some specific behavior you will be punished, like for corruption. if you expect that you will be punished, and if your personal attitudes are such that you don't like to be punished, then you will probably not behave properly.
Okay.
So normative expectations is your expectations, what others expect from you in terms of your behavior. Yes?
When we say that breastfeeding is a normative expectation for us, I think that no, but society wants women to breastfeed. However, they, for example, here in Russia, they won't be punished for not breastfeeding. But the society, can we say that society wants us to breastfeed?
If you say no, if you say I think that sanctions, punishment, is a very good predictor of normative expectations.
Okay.
So this is like, you know, dressing your kids, your boys and girls in blue and in pink.
Mm-hmm.
So probably somebody like I had this experience. I met some people who really thinks that it's strange to dress a young girl in blue.
Yeah.
But this is not social punishment, you know. This is just expression of their opinion. So it's not, when we're talking about social norms, so this is the behavior that is good for every member of a society, each member of a society, like corruption. If you're involved in corruption deal, this is good for you, this is good for somebody else, for 2 people, for 3 people, but this is costly, this behavior is costly for everybody else. That's why I'm talking about punishment. Okay? And this is the difference. This is in fact very, how to say, very thin question. And that's why Vicari developed this theory of social norms, because I can say that before her theory, and even now, even if you go to publications, even for current publications, you know, people call social norm very different things. And that's why she decided to build a strong theory of norms, so that we call the same, this is like language, a descriptive norm, language norm. We call the same thing by the same words. Because previously and now, if you just go to, if you Google social norm, you will find very contradictory definitions. So, let me just, yes.
So the difference between second-order belief and normative expectation is that normative expectation definitely leads to some consequence, like approval or disapproval.
Yes.
And second-order belief is just, how to say, an expression of how normative expectation works. So it's like something we think about others, think about us.
Yes. Yes. And what is also important here is that the cost of deviating from different norms are different. The cost for deviating from a convention, such a language rule. If you don't know a language, you don't speak the language of your society, so it's costly for you, for the deviating party. So for you is better to follow the rule, the language rule, the traffic rule, whatever. As for social norm, deviating is for you as a public good gain. For you, deviating is good. That's why sanctions should be established if we want to keep this norm in the society. And this is the difference between descriptive and social norm. So people will not deviate. There is no need to impose sanctions for descriptive norms, because it's in the interest of every single people to not deviate. While for social norm, it's not the case. This is the main point between descriptive and social norm. When you think about social norm, think about public debate. It's always in your own interest to debate. That's why the society needs to impose sanctions in order to keep this behavioral practice.
Can we switch to the previous slide, please, for a second? So when, for example, we are speaking that it is common for people to write with a much higher speed than it is needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something that's normal for these people, but the sanctions are involved in order to prevent these actions.
Yes, but this is not really in the interest
of
this person to...
Okay.
There are different traffic rules.
So, I mean, can we add some rules to the society to, to change these normative expectations? So, adding some sanctions can change the normative expectations.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
This is my next slide.
Okay,
how we
yeah.
can change social norms. In order to change social norm, we need to change normative expectations.
Okay.
To change descriptive norm, we change empirical expectations. To change social norm, we change normative expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And how to change normative expectations, this is a big question. And it is related to punishment, to sanctions. So if you change expectation, not sanctions themselves, but expectations of people that over sanctions, the normative expectations, then you may change social norms. For example, if in some societies people are very corrupt because there are no really sanctions against corruption, so if you change legislation, if you impose most of the punishment against corruption, probably you can change the social norm. But this is the open question, this is the research question. We know, for example, that in China there is even death punishment for some specific corruption deals, but it's still very widespread. So this question, many questions that we're asking today, it's kind of difficult philosophical research questions, so we don't know. What I want to do today, I want to introduce some strong terminology and some strong theory, such that we speak the same language and we can discuss the situation of social norm, and we can do research to answer some open questions that are not clear for us. I think that I don't really have time. Do I? Probably not. I don't have time.
Break time.
I mean, it's up to you how your preferences. Because the last thing that I wanted to do is to have this work in small groups for 5 minutes and then to discuss it, but we can move it for the work to a break and then start with this discussion next lesson. That's what we can do. Because we have this work in small groups, and we also have what I call homework. This is the work for the break. So let's do the way that you have both pieces of work for a break. Okay? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.